What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here with Backstage Choreo Live, and I'm just winding down my Friday evening and Friday work day, having some fun, building some systems, and I'm doing my Friday stuff. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope everybody's moving right along. We're actually going to jump in and talk about different type of system today. We've been talking about some very practical approaches and applications of different types of base systems that you need in your business. In fact, we've been talking about the E7S, which is your essential 7 systems that every business needs. And so if you want to hear more about those, you can go back and check out some of the past lives if you want to have them all in one place and find them and join the community of experts that we've got growing. It's called Systems for Experts, and you can find it at systemsforexperts.com, and it's free. So nothing to sell you. Just go and check it out. Systems are amazing. I didn't realize it early on in my life, but I kind of fell in love with systems. And I didn't realize that was such a piece of the dancing, because those of you that may know of me, I'm a former professional ballroom dancer back in the day, and I didn't realize that I loved systems and I loved that element of the game, right? And that turned into learning a lot about the systems of dance, and ultimately it turned into finding out more about the brain. I fell in love with NLP, which was really a lot about systems and how our mind works and how we use systems to process things, to learn, to do things that are really amazing, and to do some things that are pretty crappy, right? Like, I think the interesting part of a lot of systems for people that they create in their mind, and that's the neuro-linguistic side of things, is that we think things are good and bad. And this is a topic that is super fun to talk about, and that is that what is good and what is bad. And we all have our definitions. We all have our version of what good is, and we all have our version of what bad is. Different cultures have their good and their bad, and we could literally go down a huge rabbit hole about what that is and what the lines are, and when you should cross the line, when you shouldn't cross the line, if it's okay to cross the line. So interestingly enough, we build these systems. Our culture builds the systems, our family units build the systems, our religious beliefs build the systems, our government build the systems, right? So we have lots of systems being created, built, and executed upon in our life. And when we have dug into the systems that we've already started with the business choreography systems and the frameworks and all that stuff, if you've been watching or you've watched any of the other live streams that we've started to do this week, then I guess it was last week, then you've seen a lot of cool systems that we can build inside business. And one of the systems that we really haven't addressed, because we've been really very tactical and very strategic in the systems that we've been building. But since it's Friday night and we're moving into the weekend, a lot of businesses and a lot of experts like you should be taking some time to rest and to recover and to get the juices filled back up again so that you can move into the next week properly. And so I thought today was a really great time to dig into the metaphor systems, and that's M4S, right? We call the other ones the E7S, right? The essential 7 systems. I call these the meta 4 systems. Meta stands for about, right? Meta is like all knowing, all about, over, all encompassing, right? And so these 4 systems in the Meta 4 are pretty cool. And we're going to speak specifically about personal choreography systems. And personal meaning, what are you doing for you? What systems have you set up for you that help you on a regular basis? Now, there are large systems that you should create and set up. There are smaller systems, more tangible and crunchy. They're just teeny little things that you should set up in your world that help you to continually keep the cup full. And any of you that are running a business, any of you that have tried to start a business, you know that sometimes you have to burn the midnight oil, right? As they say. Sometimes you have to burn the candle at both ends, right? There's some funny sayings that we say. And sometimes there are different seasons where you have to not do that. Because if you do that for too long, you will eventually burn the candle out. Right? So yes, you could burn the candle at both ends, and yes, it will stay lit, and yes, the wax runs out. And that's kind of how it goes in life. But with the concept of talking about all of these different systems that we have inside the Meta 4 systems, this one, Personal Choreography Systems, I think really means a lot to me. And I think for so many people, I think if you could set up some smaller systems personally to help you recover on a regular basis, you'd probably find some greater success so that you would be fresher, your mind would be more creative, you would be more engaged and in the game on a long-term basis. And I think that's really what we want to put together. Now, I'm not rushing, right? These lives are supposed to be a conversation, right? I didn't want it to be something that was AI, right? Or something that came across as being disingenuous, right? Like I just wanted to have a conversation with you guys about your own personal systems. I know for a lot of people, when you've completely burnt out, there are only a few things you could possibly do to get out of that burnout stage. And it's different for everybody. I think that's why vacations came about, right? Is that people would burn it and burn it and burn it and burn it, and they just go, and then all of a sudden they had nothing left. And so I think, when you look at the corporate world, they said, oh, we better install vacations so that people can go and recover whether they like it or not. Right. And you'll hear about CEOs and people in the C-suite taking a sabbatical, right? Meaning they might take a month or 2 months off and go do something that's just like helps them reset. And I think we can't underestimate the power of that. However, setting up smaller things that are more consistent and systematic, a little bit more discipline oriented, those things can help. Now, one of those things could be working out, could be taking care of your body and staying physically fit. They say when you're healthy, you want all sorts of crazy things, but when you're not healthy, all you want is your health. That's it. So taking care of your body, taking care of your mentality, those are systems you should set up. A few years back, I think it might have been 4 years back now, I got really, really sick. And when I say really sick, it was like I was out for like a month and a half, and it just kicked my butt. Like as I was thinking I was getting better, I'd get out of bed for about hour and a half, and that was it. It toasted me, and I ended up having to sleep after that. And it had just built up over a number of years. And it was around the time of the pandemic. So I got checked, and it wasn't that. The doctors didn't know what it was. They were like, well, we don't know what it is. Go back to sleep. Good luck. There's nothing we can give you. There's nothing we could tell you. Maybe it'll go away in a few more weeks. Just ride it out. Right. And after that, and during that, like I was saying earlier, When you don't have your health, all you want is your health. Everything else doesn't matter. Everything else goes away, right? And so I decided I was going to set up a system for that side of things, for the personal side of things, right? I've always put a lot of focus into work and into the things that I love to do, and I love my work. I love what I do, but it can take its toll, right? So I installed some systems for working out. Now, as a professional dancer, you would have thought that I was working out on a regular basis and that was not a big deal. Well, it was, because I didn't. Dance was my workout. Walking all day long, people say get those 10,000 steps. I was like, I get that before noon, right? As a dancer. But as that ended, I think that my body was going, whoa, what are you doing? Like, that's not happening anymore. You need to figure this out. And so I got that back in, and I created a system, a discipline system. And now I've made it so that I don't miss a day. And in 4 years, I haven't missed a day that I've committed to working out. And I work out 5 days a week. Don't miss a day. Doesn't matter where I am. Doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. Doesn't matter if I'm traveling. It doesn't matter. I do not miss a day. And I made that a thing, and I made it a thing because when I decided I was going to do that, it was going to be for the rest of my life. It wasn't going to be like, I'm going to do that for a little while. It was going to be I'm going to do that forever. So I had to create a system that was consumable, something that was attainable in small pieces, little bits at a time, right? And if you're going to program your mind, one of the hardest things to do in programming your mind is to do it all in one big, huge chunk and expect like this overnight, right? But if you do it little pieces at a time, you do little parts at a time, and you do it through building a system of execution, then it works. Now, everybody's different, and everybody has their own little things that work, don't work. You could be thinking to yourself right now, Michael, I've always worked out. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why was it so hard for you to do? I've heard people that just love working out, love being in the gym, love being in that space. And they're like, oh, after a while, I just couldn't. I had to have it. I loved it so much. I loved running, and I had to get out and run, or I loved working out. I loved being at the gym. And I know people that are like that. And I've been doing this for 4 years, and I don't love working out, but I have it worked into my system. I have it worked into my regimen, my daily routine, and I know, like clockwork, that it's going to happen no matter what. But for me, I don't love it, but I know I need it. And I know if I don't do it, it will affect me as an overall whole. Now, there are lots of things that go like that. See, we're talking about the physical, the body side of things. But let's talk about a system for your soul. I know that sounds funny, right? We're not going to get religious here because you all probably have different religious beliefs, and that's cool, right? Like, it's cool. You believe what you believe, and we're not going to get into a religious discussion here. However, it's interesting to me. It's fascinating to me how all of the good books, we'll call all of the religious books out there, how they all have something built into them to encourage you to recover, to allow your soul to recover on a weekly basis. How is it that all of them, how is it that all the philosophers, how is it that all the religious texts, how is it that they all have something that alludes to you need to do something to recover from an emotional, soul, spiritual side of things on a weekly basis? How is it that they all have reference to that? Because it's important, right? So regardless of what you believe, regardless of where your stance is, regardless of your religious affiliation, doesn't matter. Go find in that belief system, in that philosophy. Go find their suggestions, go find their ideas about how you can recover, how your soul can recover each week, and what that is. And we don't, again, times are modern. Times are different than they used to be, right? That's what the kids always tell us. That's what my kids say. That's what all the kids say. It was different than it used to be. Mom, Dad, you guys didn't even have the internet when you were kids. You don't get it, right? And to some extent, they're right. There's always a generational gap there. However, the truth be told, even with the new things, it doesn't matter. There's still a need for an emotional recovery and a soul recovery, right? So we think mind, body, soul, right? That's the classic triad that you see across all texts and philosophies. And as we talk about that mind, body, soul, what systems do you have? I want you to think about that right now and answer that in your head. What systems do you have installed to help you recover? It's an interesting thing, because if you, as a entrepreneur, a business owner, if you build those into your week, then they get easier to set aside other things for, because you start to cherish that time, and you start to recognize that time is necessary, just like a workout, just like building in a system for making sure that you trigger yourself right into getting ready for the workout, going to the workout, doing the workout, finishing the workout, and going to whatever's next. Well, the same thing is important for your soul. Now, for people that are really religious, very religious, they are like, okay, it has to be church, right? My Spanish Catholic family is like mass every Sunday, right? And a whole bunch of other things that they were super religious. It was a bunch of things that they had to do, right, during the week. For each religion, for each philosophical belief system, there are things that they teach and that they ask you to do. And it's for your own well-being. So you have to decide if that works for you, right? But regardless, what I do know is that you need something, right? So we want to talk about that something, that thing that refills your soul energy, right? For some people, it's meditation and building in that meditation. I've heard people talk about morning routines or not morning routines, and talk about the value of having a morning routine, and then others are like, oh my gosh, that morning routine stuff is garbage, it's junk, who needs that? Like, skip the morning routine. I have all this stuff done because I don't spend time doing a morning routine. So by you're doing that morning routine, by the time you're done, I've already gotten half my work done for the day, right? And that's great for them. At the same time, out of the other side of their mouth, they're like, I'll never skip a workout. I'm always going to work out. That's part of their routine. Just maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's not in the morning, who knows, right? But the truth of the matter is that these morning routines that you hear people talk about are systems. They've created a system. They've created a pattern, a set of things. One trigger leads to the next trigger that leads to the process within the trigger, right? If we're talking about the Alpha Systems framework, which is the basis, the fundamentals of creating a system. And that fundamental base of creating a system is important as you create your own system, because when we look at the choreography of a system, we're looking at what is the connector from one to the next. What I did was I connected my morning set of work, because what I found was that I love to get up and get to work, right? Like I woke up and I have energy. I'm excited. My brain's been thinking all night about the challenges and the problems that it's trying to solve. It's a game, right? And so I get up and I'm like, oh, I gotta get to work. I gotta go do that. So I've set up some systems that naturally trigger me to go into that. And then I go into that. And then what I do is I also set up some triggers to make it so that I naturally go into my workout, so that I don't miss, so that at a certain point during that morning set of work, my brain and my body start going, it's time to work out. Like you gotta work out. Like you gotta get that done. You got to do that, because I've built it in as a recurring trigger over the course of 4 years. And I did it little bit at a time so that it was consistent. It was built in. That's how much I love systems. So when I talk to you about systems, it's not because I don't do them and because I don't study them and because I don't look at how they work. And so I'm not telling you to do anything that I wouldn't do. I'm not telling you that it's easy either, right? And really good, solid systems are something that you build over time, right? And a lot of people don't want that. They want the magic bullet. They want something fast, right? But if you build it over time, it's going to be more sturdy when it tries to crumble, right? And it will try to crumble. Like there will be times, and your mind will try to get you to stop doing the thing, even though it's really good for you. And so I want you to think about that as you set up a system. So here's what the challenge is. I want you to ask yourself a few questions. I wrote down a few questions before we started today, just to get you to think about this. And you can come back and watch this later, and you can write them down, or you can pause if you're watching this later on, and answer. Take some time. Take a few moments to do this, whether it's tomorrow morning or maybe it's Sunday morning or whatever. Take some time to do this and answer these questions. What are your favorite things to do outside of work? And I have to put that there because for me, somebody might ask me, what are your favorite things to do? And I'm like, well, I love my work. I love what I do for work, right? Okay, so outside of the work and outside of your business and outside of what you're building and creating, what do you love to do? Well, I'm from a video game generation. I grew up on Nintendo and Mario Brothers. I love a good video game, right? Like I'm all over that. I'm of that generation. So that's a little thing, right? I know that if I need some quick soul recovery, some quick, like, I just need a little time to just fill the cup back up again. I know if I can sit down with a video game that I like, maybe a couple hours, maybe even just an hour, and I'll probably be pretty good to go. In fact, usually after about an hour, a couple hours, my brain's starting to think about the other stuff that I love to do and work, and it's already solving the challenges. So for me, that's a cool thing. Now, what's a bigger thing? Well, slightly more involved would be that I love golf. Love golf. It's a good replacement for me now that I'm not dancing anymore, right? I use my body, physical engagement, the rhythm, the physicality of it, the mental game behind it, the fact that I get to go outside, see the trees and touch the grass. Literally, I think there's so much value to that. But that's me personally. Some people might hate golf. I don't know, right? But I love it. Right. And there's so many systems in it that it's incredible, right? There's a system for putting. There's a system for chipping, right? There's a system for hitting your drives and taking, how you're going to take a hole, right? Like a whole hole, like from start to finish, right? There's so many cool systems in it that I love it, right? So it's still combining things that I love to do, but getting me outside, because I also like to work. And so I have a tendency to overdo it and stick my brains behind a computer all the time, right? But I love golf. So for me, that's like a 4-hour engagement, whereas maybe a video game is only an hour, maybe a couple hours if I'm really going at it, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I know, like, I've been in that space where you play video games. Like, man, like I said, I grew up in that era. And so I could play video games all day when I was younger, right? And now I get bored and I'm like, I got to think of, I'm thinking of all the other stuff that I want to do to impact the world, right? So I want you to think about that. Like, what are some of your other favorite things to do? Because what if we could build some systems that ensured that you did those things instead of doing those things when it was already the end of the candle, when you were already burning and you were already at the burnout phase. And I think a lot of people wait until that point. It's too long. It's too long. It's too long. Don't wait till then. Build it in. Then you're doing it on purpose. When you do things on purpose, good things happen, right? When you do things on accident, like, oh my gosh, I just burnt out, now I got to do something to recover, then the recovery takes longer, just to get back to square one and then recover beyond square one, right? And then usually if you've burnt out, I've been there, and you may have been as well, then you start questioning all your decisions in life, and then you can go down a rabbit hole that'll take you years to get out of, right? So you could end up trying to recover from a burnout for ages, right? And it does take a little bit of time sometimes, because you start asking those crazy questions and questioning your life and your each of your decisions you've made along your way, and it's easy to go down that rabbit hole. So we don't want to wait till then. We want to understand and say, okay, let's come up with a list of things that you love to do, that you really, really like outside of your work. Okay. I have to kind of make that, because I love that side of it. Okay. So next question you're going to answer: what do you do when you really need to recover? Like in those burnout phases, like look back in your history, look back in your life, and ask yourself, what have I done in those moments when, everything hit the fan and you really needed to recover? You were burnt out, you had enough, you were at the end of your rope, whatever you call it, right? Rock bottom. What did you have to do when you really needed to recover? Because the problem that happens, and I see this so frequently, especially with experts and business owners, and especially if you've tried to bootstrap a business or you've tried to get a business up and going and it didn't work, man, getting through those businesses that didn't work, it takes a lot of energy. I've bootstrapped, I think over 12 companies now, 11 or 12, and some of them didn't work, as you can well understand. And when they didn't work, man, they're your babies, right? You put everything into it, and when they don't work, man, it takes a little bit of time to recover and to commit to doing it again, to taking another swing. So what do you do when you really need to recover? I want you to think about that, because could you build in a system that actually was prepared for when you needed that? That way, when that happens, because it's inevitable that it will potentially happen again. Like, it's pretty, like, it's probably happened to you once or twice in your life, if not more, and it's likely it's going to happen again. So why not plan for it just a little bit ahead and say, okay, you know what? I know what I do. So if I can feel myself getting to that place, let me just go do that thing that really helps me get out of it before I get into it all the way, before I'm fully burned out, before all that happens. Can I just cut it off at the pass? Because doesn't that sound like a really good idea? I think that sounds like a good idea. So now you have some things that you really love. They're like the smaller things that you can do, and you should build those into your weekly and monthly setup. Then you got the bigger things that you really do to really rejuvenate your soul. And now we build some systems to make sure those happen on a regular basis, so that you can cut off the burnout earlier, before it comes. And that's it. Now, you've got those things, you've thought about what those things are, and I want you to ask one more question, right? How can you build it into your regular recovery? I recognized, and it's probably from my upbringing, my teachings, and all the things that I've learned through my years, my family dynamic, the traditions, all that stuff. I realized that it was a good idea for me to take Sundays and do some solid recovery time. right? And so on a pretty regular basis, I try to take Sundays and make sure that I have that recovery built in, right? And for each of you, it's going to be different. What you do on your Sunday, I don't know. Maybe it's not Sunday. Maybe for you, it's going to be Saturday, because maybe that's the day you get off of, you have the least amount of distractions, and it's the day you can have to yourself, right? But having a day where you do that is super helpful, and maybe some of the good books have said that before. So maybe there's some wisdom and guidance there for us to listen to. But that's up to you. That's up to your belief systems, right? But what I do know is that it's important to have that. And so if you can set that up, that's great. So now, can you set some things up that you do maybe daily? Can you set something up that you do weekly? Can you set something up that you do monthly? Can you set something up that you do yearly? Right? These are some cool personal systems that you can build. And if you do that, then the rock bottoms aren't as low anymore. You start to mitigate the waves that you're going on, right, through life. That's super helpful. That's really helpful, right? When you can start to lessen how high and how low you go, right? And the waves are going to come. That's just how it is. Everything we're doing is in a wave, right? There's some good things. There's some bad things. There's some run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road things. It's going to happen. It's part of life. It's part of the experience of what we do. And you know that, and I know that, and we've learned that along the way. And I think the more I concede to giving into systems and building the systems necessary to help me in life, the more things have gone better. And it's not to say that everything's kicks and giggles, right? Everything isn't always perfect, right? And regardless, sometimes we think that, if the business is better, it's going to be better, right? Like if I was earning $1 billion instead of $1 million, then it's going to be better. If I was earning $10,000 instead of $0, instead of $10, then it'll be better. But I think one of the things that I consistently see, even from my mentors that I follow and listen to, is that the problems just change, right? When you're earning $10, the problems are much different than when you're earning $10,000. When you're earning $10,000, those problems are much different than $1 million, right? And the problems change, right? When you have 0 employees, the problems are way different than when you have 150 employees, than when you have thousands of employees, right? Like it's a whole different game. So the problems are going to change, but there's still going to be problems, which means that along the way, it's up to you to learn to manage you. And inevitably, one of the things that I've learned is that creating systems and setting up some good personal systems is a great way to start to ride that wave that's going up and down on a surfboard, instead of kicking and screaming and flopping around in the wave. And I've had my fair share of flopping around in the wave. I don't know about you, but I've had my fair share of flopping around in the wave. And I don't know that, I think for every time you go up a level, for every time you improve and you hit that next threshold, that next step, you start flopping around and thrashing in the wave. And so in those moments, it's time to hit the systems again, create better systems. Anyway, I hope you guys have gotten some value out of this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear about some of your easy systems. I love the KISS method, right? Keep it stupid simple. Don't get too crazy. Just keep it simple. right? A good trigger, understand what the process is, understand what the outcome is, make sure you got some proof to back it up in terms of that the system is working once you're going to put the system in play. And then put it to work. Use some good old-fashioned discipline to run the system long enough to get it to be a habit. I've heard all sorts of statistics, right? Like sometimes you hear people say it's like 18 days to create a habit. Okay, that's fine. I've also heard the other side of it. If you do something with emotion and meaning and purpose, you can change it in a New York minute, right? That's called being in a good state of mind. And that's pretty cool too. So I know you can change things instantly. You can change things super quick if you're in the right state of mind emotionally, you're ready to go. So sometimes those things are possible. But, the rest of the time, some good old-fashioned discipline. That works out pretty good. And a good system. If it's not a good system, it'll fail. And then you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and create a better system, right? And again, keep the systems simple. Keep them straightforward. Keep them easygoing, right? I'd love to hear about some of your systems. What's your morning routine? What's one of your little things that you do to just help keep the cup full? What are some of the medium things? Who are my golfers out there? If you play golf, let me know. Hey, if you play golf and you're in Utah, let me know. We'll hook up. We'll go play some golf. It'll be fun. Anyway, there you go. So that's the metaphor systems. Here, let me just add this to the stage real quick. We've been talking here personal choreography. You've seen me continue to build on this, right? And we're talking about personal choreography systems that fits over here in the metaphor systems. We've been really spending our time up here in the E7S systems. I think last time we were talking about fulfillment systems, and I was going to do retention, but I felt like that was a little heavier for a Friday evening stream. So figured we'd go with the personal systems. So think about your personal systems that you are going to create. Do you have a small one? Do you have a medium-sized one? Do you have one for when you're burnt out? And try to plan for that a little bit. Take a little bit of time. Write it down on a note card or something. And get prepared. Maybe start to build it out so that you're ready when the time comes. And until next time, keep choreographing your business. We'll see you on the flip side. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys later. Take care.